Dr. Karno is fabulous. I met him when he first started working on horses on remote healing. And I have two horses, and he was working on some very expensive show horses. And the owners were saying, we don't know what he does, and we don't want to know what he does, but we do know whatever it is working after spending thousands of dollars on chiropractors, acupuncture, and many other treatments for their horses that weren't working. Dr. Karno was able to fix their horses, and that really impressed me because horses can't fake symptoms and they can't fake getting well. So that was really exciting. And so I met Dr. Karno, and it turned out he worked on humans as well. So I became a devoted fan of his. I think this was back in 2001. And he's taught me a great deal about healing and remote healing, and I've sent many a person to him, and he's just utterly fantastic. So I'm really thrilled that he's making the time to be on the show tonight.
Well, excellent. And we have Dr. Art Karno here, so why don't you go ahead and bring him out, and let's see what we got planned this evening for remote energy healing.
All right. Hi, Art. Are you there?
I am. I
Yay.
am here.
Hi, in Kuala Lumpur. How is it there today?
Well, it's good. I'm blushing from your introduction, even though it's early in the morning for me. So thank you for that.
I mean every word of it. It's been a great knowing you, and may we have many more decades of knowing each other. So,
well, I agree with that, and hope so also.
So let's jump in to just a little bit about your background, because you did start off, I believe, as a chiropractor. So I'm just curious, 'cause a lot of people who listen to the show are interested in developing their own skills. How did you make that transition? How did you find out about remote healing that you shifted over?
Well, when I got out of chiropractic school, I went to work for a couple of doctors who were doing, in addition to kind of straight chiropractic, they were doing energy healing, and I was fascinated by that. So I watched them and got interested, and then learned the techniques that they were doing, because it was just more involved for me. It was almost like becoming a general practitioner and being able to handle any ailments in addition to the spine, which of course is very important. So I just plunged right in and started doing what they were doing, and they were good mentors for me.
Fabulous. And did your clients have any trouble switching over, or were they the same clients and you added more? I'm just kind of curious because so many people found remote healing back in the day kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, well, these were actually two women chiropractors, so they had a pretty diverse clientele. There weren't a lot of women chiropractors in those days, and they had sort of I don't know if you would call it a showbiz type of practice, but they had an eclectic group of clients, and I worked on a lot of their clients, and then as new ones came in, of course, they had the reputation of doing what they do, and then I had that reputation as well. So no, there was no problem having any kind of a convincing attitude towards that work.
Nice. Very nice. So how would you, in general, describe energy healing? And remote healing is one school of energy healing. So how do you describe this to our listeners?
Well, the odd thing, in a very general term, almost everything is energy healing, but for what I mean by that is the whole body is made out of energy and energy frequency, so anything you do to the body is going to begin with an energy frequency shift. Even if you take medicine, it's going to do something energetically. But beyond that, what I think your question is what is more specifically energy healing, and I would say that it's basically a direct influence on the energy frequencies of the body without using medicine. And other disciplines as well would fall under that category, like acupuncture is an energy type of healing, and hands-on type approaches. So basically, it's just manipulating energy frequencies without medicine.
So I guess I agree with what you're saying there on that. And I remember when I first met you and you were working on horses, you used to show up and do muscle testing and kind of make a show of it so people could see that something was actually really happening. And then you were able to graduate to not even coming to the facility to treat horses. And of course, now with humans, you don't do that either. So, how is it that you connect remotely with a client, and how does remote healing differ from things like acupuncture and Reiki and other things that people might be familiar with?
Well, with remote healing, we're using the mind to send energy frequencies to change other energy frequencies of the client that are out of balance. So remote healing we do in a distance. There's no hands-on, there's no tools, there's no nothing. It's pure mind connection. And to be able to do that is very simple. You just make an intention to connect with the person or animal that you want to do the work with.
Well, that brings up a slightly scary perspective too, when people talk about black magic or negative vibes affecting people. And I've always had the position that, if you're centered and you protect yourself and all that, people cannot get after you with their thoughts. So I'm wondering if you think there's something different or something special that has to go on that allows you into someone's energy field rather than just thinking about them, because then it seems like you could do voodoo on just about anybody. Or can we, do you think?
Well, yes, you can. You
Wow.
can use energy in a malevolent way. I imagine I've never done that, but there are plenty of factions around the world that use voodoo and black magic all the time. And, it's yes, I suppose that could be scary for a client, but if you have a reputation for being a good person and, a good healer, then I don't think, that's up to them what they have to worry about, but I don't put too much stock in that, and really, honestly, nobody's ever brought it up. Like, what if you get in there and you're a weird guy and you want to do bad things to me? No one's ever, in all the years I've been doing that, no one's ever mentioned it.
Right. Well, that speaks something about your character, I think, and your energy and your personality, that no one would ever even question that. But I guess it's a funny thought I had never thought of before until just now, about the idea of using the mind to connect with people and then thinking about whether they needed to give their permission or not for you to work on them. And I know that you seek permission, I know that, but it was just kind of a stray thought I hadn't thought of before, that it could go the other way then if we're that responsive to energy by just having someone think about us while they work on us.
It can go the other way, but it's you have to, the energy giver has to create that other way. It's not going to happen just because the energy I'm sending gets mixed up with some weird dark cloud out there and then shifts, and causes a rain cloud in the client. It doesn't work that way. You really got to have your act together to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, to do bad things like that. Yeah. So, this kind of gets a little bit into quantum aspects as well. Do you believe that energy behaves in a certain way so that we know how to manipulate it? And if so, what are some of the kind of rules or observations you have about energy and how it behaves?
Well, yes, absolutely. Energy behaves in a certain way, and there's a whole discipline of science, which you mentioned, quantum physics, or if you want to use the quantum laws, then it's quantum healing. And the first law is, and we're talking about laws that have to do with invisible particles, energy frequencies. They're totally different than the laws of three-dimensional physics like gravity, and an apple will fall from the tree every time. So there's behavior in these molecules, and one of them is called the theory of entanglement, which is how we connect to another person. And basically, the theory of entanglement means all you have to do is think of that person, and you will connect to their energy frequency. All you need are a few tidbits of information. Some people think maybe they have to have a picture or they have to have a piece of jewelry. No, all you have to do is think of who you're thinking of. You might have a name, or you might even have somebody says, well, I have a friend who's got this thing, this problem, and that's all the information you ever need, is that you're going to connect to who that friend is. And so that's the law of entanglement, and that's one of the rules of quantum physics. And one of the other laws is that there are many of them, but the basic ones are that you can use energy frequencies to change other energy frequencies. And a thought is an energy frequency. And a person's physiology and body construction is made out of energy frequencies. So when you take that thought, which is an energy frequency, and intend to change some physical nature of the person you're entangling with, it will happen, just simply because that's what energy is able to do.
Why is it then that, like, you're really good at remote healing and not everybody is? I mean, you've taught some people and some of them grab it and some of them don't. So if it's so simple, like you're explaining, what do you think are the elements that make someone more successful than someone else?
Well, okay, what makes a person a good healer? I suppose there are some weird things that go into that, and then some basic elements of just practicing something. The more you do anything, the better you get at it. So if you really want to be a good healer, you're going to put your heart and soul into doing that. It's not just a little sideline that maybe you would do once in a while. And the more you know, the better you're going to be. And it is helpful, because let's say there's an even playing field of people who want to do energy healing. Like in anything else, there's going to be something that separates out the really good ones from the just the normal ones. But I mean, there are innate abilities to do this. But let's say that people don't have that. The other way to just be a good healer is just to want to be, and to learn it, practice it, do it a lot. You're going to build a muscle inside of you that's able to send energy easily, and then you're going to develop a believability about it. The more you believe you can do it, the better you get at it. That's your kind of connection to being a good healer, is your own confidence in yourself. And when you have that, it amps up your power.
Wow.
One other thing I'm going to say about that is that there is some detail involved in energy healing where, you want to kind of know how the body works. Okay, you don't have to be a doctor to do that, because everybody knows what the lungs are and where they are and what the heart is and what it does basically in the digestive system. But you could get into some detail about that and learn, where's the thyroid and what does it do and what are the adrenal glands, and some information about that by looking at a physiology chart is very, very helpful, because then you can tune in more accurately and be more specific.
Well, that kind of leads into the question then, why is energy healing so effective compared to possibly even other methods?
Okay. Well, since the body is made of energy frequencies and all the physiology and action of it is an energy frequency, or starts with an energy frequency and then becomes an entry into disease tissue and more layers of severity. since energy healing deals specifically with energy frequencies, you're getting right to the source, right where it begins, right where that energy frequency gets balanced, and months and go by, and it starts to turn into some kind of a physical symptom. So you're dealing as closely to the source of disease as you possibly can. And that's what makes it effective. And unlike medicine or other disciplines, you can get so specific down to the very cell, the cellular level, the DNA. There's nothing else that deals on that level other than energy medicine.
Right. That's a really excellent point. That's really true. And also it can be done lightning fast because it can be done with a thought rather than lab tests and machinery and being inaccessible. So I guess that's another part of energy healing I never thought about until you were talking about this, that it also makes this kind of healing quite accessible to a majority of the population because it's not based on access to machinery or other exotic tools that someone may not be able to afford or may not be in the area where somebody lives.
Exactly. That's one of the beauties of it is, gee, I don't have to make an appointment. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to be doing anything particular, and I don't have to be you can be on the moon and do for your client and do energy healing. It doesn't matter, and it's instantaneous access.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Amazing. So you say that everybody can do this, and that it does help to have some belief in the body, and it definitely helps to have a lot of practice and belief in yourself. So what would a procedure be for someone to do remote healing on a person or an animal? What at least is the process you follow if somebody wanted to start practicing for this and started looking up energy healing and remote healing? What would you suggest they do in a session?
Well, there's sort of an orderliness to doing an energy healing session, at least for me. The first thing you want to do is get quiet and have a sort of peaceful mind. You don't want to be thinking of, how many bills you've got to pay and all of your own personal problems. You just want to clear your mind and sit down. You're not going to do this standing up. You want to really get focused. So I start with some deep breathing because that's the quickest way and simplest way to calm your mind. And as you get into a state of kind of clean-mindedness by doing that, you're going to connect. And through what we call the law of entanglement, which means that you can connect to anything you want to, that's alive, I would connect to the source of energy I want to utilize. In other words, when you send energy, you don't want to do it from your own energy base because that's exhausting. And you've got a limited amount of energy, and you don't want to use it up. So you want to use an infinite source of energy. And that infinite source of energy is going to be a higher, whatever you consider to be your higher power. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a religious sort of affiliation. It can just be simply an energy field that we all know is out there because that's how we got the spark of life. We didn't get born by our own efforts. Something did it. And whatever did it, that's what you want to connect with. So you're going to use that source to give forth healing energy. And I'll go on if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. So we're talking about connecting first and plugging into a greater source of energy than just the self.
Yes. And of course, anytime you want to, get clear if I have said something and you want to clarify. Just jump right in, please. So, all right, next. So you're connected to this infinite source, and then you want to make an intention with that source, an agreement, if you will, or a request. And you say, I've got somebody that I want to do a healing on. Would you? Of course, they're not going to refuse because the energy source is there to access at any time. So you're going to make your request of what you want, and you're going to name the person or the animal that you intend to do something with. So you make that intention with the higher source, and next, because energy, and earlier on we were talking about, energy flying around, and can some of it be waylaid or misused or whatever. If a person that you're healing has some kind of, deep disturbance, let's say, and that's in their energetic field, you want to protect yourself because you don't want that energy flying back at you and contaminating yours. So the next step is to make a protection for yourself, kind of like a shield, if you will. And that shield is going to be an energetic shield that appears to be sort of, the way I do it is I imagine white sparkling light. White light is a very powerful, clean source of imaginary energy. And when you conjure that up and you cover yourself in that and make the intention to protect yourself from any outside energy that might come into your field, that agreement will be made and you will be protected. So you can feel safe that you're not extending yourself into any bad territory that might, come back and bite you. So that would be the next step and an important one. So the next thing is that you have your agreement with your source of energy, and you're going to now bring your person into the field of your consciousness, just visually, or by some representation. It doesn't have to be exactly dimensionally proportionate. You can shrink them down so you can see them. They can even be a cartoon if you want. Your mind is going to represent it in the best way that you feel comfortable. So it doesn't really matter as long as you've got their identity or their energy frequency in your mind, which happens automatically when you make that intention. So now you're connected, and you're going to want to describe to your energy provider, higher source, what it is that you want to do. In other words, if that person has a specific request, I have a cold, or I have a sore arm, or bad shoulder, or digestion problems, or I can't sleep, or whatever it is, and it could be more than one thing, you want to list those like a laundry list to your higher source, and make sure that everything is out in the open as to what you want to accomplish, because that becomes your intention. And by doing that, those things will get addressed. So even if you forget, if you're in the healing and you forget, oh my God, I forgot to do this, it'll get handled because you asked for it earlier. And if you forget and you say, oh, I forgot to put in my list this other thing, you can do it then at any time. And then, so the next thing, once you have that declaration of your intentions, you are going to focus. You're going to focus and have an intention for whatever it is, the sore arm or digestive problem, to now get healed. And that energy is going to be sent. It just is. It's going to be sent. And what your job is to watch. You want to look at it, you want to focus on it, and you want to watch that energy do whatever it's going to do. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like in your mind. I know what it looks like in mine, and that's where practice of doing this takes place. So you're going to get a sense of seeing that energy do a job. And that's important. You can't daydream there. You can't start thinking about other things. Your focus is the connection, and it is the power. So, it's just like if you were in person with somebody and you wanted to massage them, you're going to continue to massage them. You're not going to stop and go, do something else and get a glass of water. You have to be on them doing that. Well, the focus is like the rubbing. Okay, so you can't stray from that. That's where you got to concentrate, and you don't make an effort out of it. You don't strain. You just watch, and then when that's finished doing whatever it's going to do, you go on to the next area of what you wanted to accomplish. And it's helpful to, make a list if you want, have a piece of paper. You're doing this with your eyes closed, generally, because it's more effective. But if you want to open your eyes and look around or whatever, no problem. So, at some point, you're going to be finished. And the healing is over. And what you want to then do is, I like to ground the patient. Ground them by imagining another process of having their feet, which are on the ground, sink into the earth, about 10 feet. Because you heal somebody like that, there's going to be an action, a process in their body of a lot of work being done. And they could get tired, they might want to go to sleep, they could get a little spacey, and you want to ground them, make sure that they're really anchored into the earth before you leave them. And so you can imagine their feet, the earth is very grounding, and the lower you go in the earth, the more grounded you're going to be. Of course, you don't have to go 100 miles, 10 feet's fine, you imagine whatever 10 feet is to you. Any questions so far?
No, this is excellent. I want to know,
Okay.
when you before you get to the grounded part, you said then it's over. How do you know when a session is over?
Good question. It's over when it's over, basically, but, how do you know?
Feel different or?
Yes, go ahead.
Does it feel different, or how does it look to you?
Yes, it feels different. You're going to get a sensation. As you're tuned in to this person and doing what you're doing, you're going to get feelings, sensations as you watch the energy work. It could be a streaming kind of energy where there's a stream of movement or color or a sensation of action, or it could be any kind of thing, and usually is different for everybody. And the only way you're going to know what that is to do it. And most likely you're going to witness something in your mind, like a little show, much like daydreaming in a way, except this is more guided. So when it's done, you're going to feel something different than that streaming or sensation. You're going to feel something stop, or you're going to feel something bounce back at you, like a fullness, like it can't take anymore, like a glass of water you're trying to fill up. Sooner or later it's full and it's going to run over, and then you stop the water flow. So this sensation is kind of like it got full, it's dead, there's no more activity, and you're going to know that. Okay? I can't explain how you're going to know it, but it's just a sense. And it's not a difficult thing. And the more you do it, the more refined your sense is going to get. And that's how you know when it's done.
And that's when you do the grounding, is after that.
Exactly. When it's done, you ground them. Then you want to take care of yourself, because you've just been in sort of a trance, if you will, a very focused, energetic, concentrated trance. I don't mean you're hypnotized or anything. It's just more like you're just extremely concentrated on a task. So, and plus, you've exchanged energy with somebody. You have a connection to them, and a lot of their energy can come back to you. So you want to cut that energy. You want to shut off, like shutting off a car engine. You want to turn that key and everything stops. So you make an intention that the healing is over, and you want to disconnect from that session and that person. The way I do it is actually physically. I take my hand in front of my stomach, because the stomach area is probably where this energy is going to come out of you. Now, that doesn't necessarily, it's not a hard rule, but there's a lot of chi in your solar plexus, in your navel area. That's where chi is housed and stored. So your energy is probably going to come out of there. Now, what I do is I take my hand and I just cut. Like there's a cord between you and the client, an invisible energy cord. You're going to take that hand and your hand and chop that cord and get your energy back in you and have that other person's energy be back in them. Mm-hmm. So you want to really physically make that disconnection. And then you want to clean yourself off, because you got a little dirty doing that, because you exchange energy, and that energy is, a lot of it is imbalanced and sick energy. So what I do is I actually physically take my hands, and now I start at the top of my head, and I peel off energy that might be clinging to my body. And you might imagine not only that it's on the outside, but also on the inside. And the stripping motion is going to take care of cleaning off all of that. So your hands literally will peel your energy off. You do it in strokes, one stroke down your body, and then you kind of throw that energy into the ground and burn it up in your mind. It burns up. You don't want to leave that. Energy is real, okay? Even though you can't see it, you can feel it. But so you're peeling off real frequencies that do work. So you throw that stuff on the ground or into the air, and you want to just burn it up. And so you're going to do a little process of maybe 30 seconds and just clean yourself off by sweeping it off with your hands and then throwing it on the floor in the air and burning it up. Then you're still not done, and I don't mean this is going to go on forever. These are all just mere seconds or minutes. And a typical healing session, might be 10 minutes.
Right.
No big deal. If you really want to get detailed in there, it can be longer if you want to put more energy in, or it could be even shorter. That's up to you. And so the last thing is, you want to make sure that you are grounded. Because you got to come back into your body and do your day and be who you're going to be and all of that. So I do the same thing with me. I imagine my feet going straight into the ground, 10 feet, and I hang out in there until I feel solid and good. And then, that could be, again, 30 seconds, could be a minute, it could be however long it takes. And then you come out of it, and you're done. That's it. Session's over.
It's a great description. We need to take a quick break for a commercial announcement by Psychic Access Talk Radio, and we will be right back to continue with Dr. Art Karno, remote healer extraordinaire.
A new era in psychic services has begun. PsychicAccess.com. You can connect with our psychic advisors by telephone or chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All of our psychic advisors are interviewed, fully verified, and accuracy tested, assuring you quality service. We're living in some very troubled times right now. More and more, the world's problems are affecting us on a personal level. You don't have to deal with this alone. Our highly accurate psychics, caring advisors, and talented mediums can help with situations you are currently experiencing and can let you know what the future may hold for you. All new customers get a free 6-minute reading. All you have to do is register. Why not visit us now and get a free reading at psychicaccess.com.
And we are back with Dr. Art Karno, remote healer, who works with people all over the world. And you can visit his website at wirelesshealing.com on the internet. And we just finished talking about procedure for a remote healing session. What are the steps that Dr. Karno goes through? And I find it great information for myself as well, because this material, according to Dr. Karno, we can all learn how to do remote healing. We can all work with energy and practice at it. So this outline, I found it extremely helpful as kind of a structure to get into a healing session and to get out of it also as well, and make sure we take care of ourselves as well as the other person. I wanted to ask you, Art, about can we work on ourselves? Because you're talking about working on other people. Can we work on ourselves, and is the process different? And if so, how is that?
Yes, we can work on ourselves, absolutely, because our energy is the same as our clients, because we're all humans, or we're all animals. If we're including animals in this, and we all have this same type of energy that runs us or sparks us. So the same rules apply, yes. Now, I'll make a caveat to this, in that healing yourself, and I do this all the time. I do a lot of self-healing, because it's not always opportune to have somebody do that for you. Yes, now here's the caveat. It's not, if I'm going to make an example of something that maybe don't be led astray by this, but the example is if you have a piece of paper and you want to put it into a copy machine, and you make a copy, and then you take that copy and use that as your master and copy that, the more times you use the last copy to make the next copy, the weaker and less defined that copy is going to be. So, this may be a bad analogy, but I got my foot into it. So anyway, what I mean by that is when you heal yourself, you are using already a sick, I don't mean sick in a horrible way, but an imbalanced energy to work on an imbalanced energy. That's one thing. It's not quite as effective. The other thing is, when you're sick, you don't feel like doing it, okay? Because you don't feel well. You don't have all your resources together, and your focus isn't, if you have a fever, your focus isn't all that great. One of the rules of, not rules, but one of the things that I find to be certainly true is that you can get tired from doing an energy healing, no matter how much you protect yourself and so forth, and what your intentions are. It's work. It's a task. So it's going to tire you out. You're going to be more tired after you're done than when you began. Now, you can also make intentions at the beginning to not be tired and to do as much as you can to counteract that. However, you're going to find among energy healers who've been doing this a long time that they have some ailments. If they're not taking care of themselves, they're doing a lot of energy healing, and they're not being the most resourceful, helpful person that they are with their lifestyle, they're going to be a little bit depleted, and they can get sick. So a lot of energy healers have health problems. I don't mean that as a warning to stay away from doing this. This is the most wonderful thing in the world. It's a skill that you will be so happy that you can do on yourself or others or whatnot. There is no reason not to, but I'm just saying, as a means to healing yourself, it's one of the little bits of downside. But yes, absolutely, self-healing is a wonderful thing to know and do, and it will be profoundly helpful to you in your life.
Is it a different structure or do you follow the same structure that you described working on a person, where you tune into another energy and you have a list made up and then you focus? Is it pretty much the same process, except you're just doing it all on yourself?
It's pretty much the same. Okay. All the same rules apply. All you do is make the appropriate substitutions for who you're doing it on, which is you and not somebody else. And you certainly may have an easier time tuning into you. Although I have to say, it's so easy to tune into another person. I'm not even going to make that distinction. It's just as easy to tune into somebody else as it is to tune into yourself. No, there's nothing different really about it. At least, I haven't thought about this until you mentioned it. So, yes, you would get quiet. You would connect to the source. You would make your intention. You would make your list of what you wanted to do. Do your focus. It's all the same. Pretty much, basically, just use the same procedure, and you're good.
So this kind of flows into something we wanted to cover about giving some secrets to the audience, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to really go over those. So I'd like to just flow right into that, and then we can cover some other questions at the end if there's time. But it's kind of relates to me about self-healing, which is, you said that we can use energy every day in our life to improve our life. So you said you had 3 tips that you could give everybody, and I'm just dying to hear what they are, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to hear about them. So would you be willing to go into that right now about your tips for us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. These tips are, I thought about, giving something that can be valuable to just your everyday life, and of course it will help you if you do healing and so forth, and particularly for you. This is for you, to better your life, your energy, and keep yourself, clean and pure. Especially the first 2 of them. Well, all 3 really. So the first one is how to access your power. Now, we discussed your navel area and an area where chi is. Chi is just your innate power, your energy source. And it's provided to you by the universal energy field, or the spark of life that we talked about. And you basically only have so much of it given to you innately, but we gather our energy from other places as well, from the sun and the earth and the food you eat and the ground and all of that, water. And if you didn't do that, you'd kick over pretty quick. So, those are also sources of energy. Now, the tip here is how to access and live, or at least momentarily, into your power. So, for instance, if you weren't in your power, your mind might be in your head trying to figure out a math problem, or how to get, which freeway exit to take, or whatever. You're going to be taken up with the energy of concentration on some task. Your totality of energy is not being accessed. You're not in balance when you're focusing and concentrating in your mind on some piece of work. If somebody came along and pushed you over, you'd fall over, because you're just not even in your own body, basically. So here's where you can be in your own body. It's a resource. Now, we all have an aura, That's a couple inches outside of our body. We can't see it or feel it most of the time. Some people can, but that aura also is an energy power. It protects us. It feeds us. So the tip here is, if you can send your mind, instead of being in your head or somewhere else, to your aura, which is like a little bubble around you, a couple inches covering your whole body from head to foot, if you focus on that area, the whole thing, you're going to be in your power. You're going to be emotionally balanced. Your brain's going to work better. Everything you do, physically, mentally, or whatever, is going to be empowered by having your mind rest outside of on your aura like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's tip number one. I can't go into necessarily any more detail. It's an easy thing to do. You just shift your mind from wherever it is to that outer area and go about whatever it is you need to do. Now, if you're upset emotionally and you're like, a bit crazed, you shift that energy to that aura place, and all of a sudden you're going to feel calm and balanced. And it's a subtle feeling, but it's a nice one, and it's very, very effective. So you just have to train yourself to kind of stay there as much as you can, and you'll feel the benefits of that. Okay, that's tip number one. Shall I go into, do you have any questions about that, or shall I go into
No,
the
that
next?
sounds perfect so far. Excellent.
Okay. Now, I touched on this earlier, and I want to go back to it because it's a very important, and this is how to sweep your body of negative energy. And again, the purpose of this is we go out through our day and we walk amongst people. You're at the mall, or you're walking down the street, or you're talking to a friend on the phone, or dealing with a service person, or whatever it is, you're going to be picking up stray energy. It's just the way it is. And that stray energy is going to cling on you. Some of it will fall off, some of it will absorb, and there'll be different sort of connectivity to that energy. And some of that energy you don't want. Some of it's like somebody else is having a bad day or whatever. But nevertheless, you don't want someone else's energy clinging on you anyway. So you're going to take your hands, and again, you do that stripping motion. And you can do that many, many times a day. And it's a good idea if you have an encounter with somebody, conversation, or you've been outdoors amongst people and you come in, you're going to want to sweep yourself. Now, you don't have to get real crazy about this, but it's going to help you. It's going to help some of that energy that may get in there kind of deeply, may stay in there for days, weeks, months, who knows. You just are kind of like washing your hands a few times a day. You're going to want to do this and wash the energy off your body. So and it's good. And don't forget, burn it when you sweep it, wherever it lands, you just burn it in your mind with a little fire. It takes a second. You're going to want to do this maybe when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, just like brushing your teeth. It's just a good thing to do. Okay, perfect. That's number two.
And the last one, because we have about 3 minutes left, and I'm very, very interested in this last one as well.
Here goes.
Yes.
All right, this is a way to access information from your subconscious. If you want to know what the best vitamin is to take, if you want to know any thoughts about, how's my gallbladder doing or whatever, you're going to want to know that information. So here's how to do this. It's like if you've heard of muscle testing to access or use a pendulum, you can do this with nothing. All you do is stand up. Your feet are spread 6 inches apart maybe, so you're kind of balanced, but not a wide stance. This is a stance so that if you can that allows you to sway backwards or allows you to sway forward with your eyes open, and you're going to think a thought. You're going to stand there. You're going to think a thought. Is this the best vitamin for me to take? And you're going to get a yes or no answer. That's the only way this is going to work. You ask yes or no questions, and you're going to see what happens. Your body is either going to sway forward, you give it a moment to do that naturally with gravity, or it's going to sway backwards. I have an agreement that when I sway backwards, that's no. When I sway forwards, that's yes. you're going to test this by standing in that position, and you're going to ask a yes question that you know the answer to. Is my name Arthur? And you should sway probably forward. That's a yes answer. And then test with a no answer that you know the answer to. And you will see which way you sway. Now, some people may be the opposite of that. They will sway forward for no and backwards for yes. But basically, that's it. You practice this, you stand there, and you're going to find that when with enough practice, it isn't pretty easy. It'll happen right away. You'll be able to get yes or no answers from your subconscious just by standing there. Anytime, anywhere, you can do this. And that is that.
That is perfect, Art. So we are coming to the end of our time, and as you can tell from our conversation, we could probably talk for another 2 hours, and I would still be learning more material from you, Art. So this is amazing, great stuff. I love the tips that you gave everybody, and I'm hoping for everyone who listens that you will contact Dr. Art Karno, who has not only enormous amount of wealth of information, but incredible healing powers as well, and is just able to fix almost everything, every ailment that I've ever come across for myself and every person I've ever sent to him. And we're just so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was an absolute pleasure and a lot of fun for me, actually.
Good. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Signing off to Dr. Art Karno.
Hello, my name is Rez Miranda. If you're having relationship, career, or life issues, I'm inviting you to experience what it's like to have access to professional, highly accurate psychics and spiritual advisors you can trust to care and help you. Register now to get your free 6-minute reading by telephone or chat. Get answers, get access, psychic access, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. PsychicAccess.com.